We're still waiting to see the impact of Medibank data being dumped on the dark web. Some experts fear prominent Aussies and those in positions of power could become blackmail targets for criminals who have obtained their medical records.
But what about the nearly 10 million everyday Australians? What should you expect? And is there anything you can do about it? Sunrise reporter Mylee Hogan has been investigating.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Well, experts say that if you have had your data leaked, then you will become an almost immediate target. So expect things like scam phone calls, text messages, but it could escalate to things like identity theft. We caught up with one woman whose name and number is already out there, and she is receiving a number of scam calls.
Breaking news, data leak. Hackers make good on their threat to expose the private details of millions of Medibank customers.
The scale of the data breach is staggering.
Tonight, a sinister development in the Medibank data breach as hackers dump confidential customer information.
A sample has been posted on the dark web and is likely to be the first of many.
Hackers are sorting through a wealth of personal information and will leak a portion at a time.
They delivered an ultimatum, and when Medibank didn't pay up, the cyber criminals followed through, uploading the first round of deeply personal medical information onto the dark web. Names, addresses, phone numbers, birth dates and more. The threat was there. Now it's online.
The big risk with the information that we've seen leaked is that the hacker can try and use it to set up other accounts in your name. So they could set up a new credit card or take out a new personal loan if they've got details like your Medicare number or your passport number.
Liv is one of 9.7 million Australians at risk. She was an AHM customer but left 18 months ago. Still, they held her data and now it's been exposed.
My name, date of birth, address and Medicare information, and obviously also there was the potential for health information, things that I'd claimed, etc.
She's now receiving dozens of scam phone calls and texts a day and believes it's linked.
When I've answered the calls, the person at the other end knows to use my name.
So if you are a victim, how do you protect yourself?
If you've already been told you might have been a victim, you need to be very cautious if you get a call saying, hey, this is from Optus or hey, this is from Medibank. Don't take that call, say, okay, I'm going to call you back. Find out the correct number to call them and do it that way. That way you'll avoid the scams.
Also keep an eye on your credit score. It will alert you if someone has attempted to borrow money in your name. Change your passwords often. You can also use the protection resources Optus and Medibank are offering.
Also, make sure you are checking your bank statements and credit card statements regularly. That can feel a bit tedious, but if there has been any illicit activity, you want to spot it as soon as possible.
But there are only so many steps you can take yourself. At some stage, you have to hand over to big corporations.
Data breaches are the new oil disasters. It needs to be protected because oil, if it spills, causes a major problem.
Cyber experts argue Australia's safeguards aren't strong enough.
The reality is there's nothing that we can do as consumers about companies holding our data. If you were in Europe, you could just give them a notice and say, you need to delete everything about me.
And while the latest ransomware attacks have put big business on notice, they're unlikely the last. Overseas, companies are paying up.
They've had a lot of success in other countries. Australian companies aren't paying the ransom. Doesn't mean global competitors of those companies aren't. And so ransomware gangs love big game hunting. They like to get the big targets because it sometimes leads to very, very big paydays.
Robert Potter is the CEO of the only Australian company invited to a recent summit at the White House aimed at tackling ransomware attacks at a global level.
Most ransomware attacks in Australia come from offshore, which means that all of our law enforcement efforts, if they're to be successful in really combating these groups, need to be international efforts.
This week, new laws passed the lower house threatening $50 million fines for companies that do not have sufficient data security. But still an existing law, there is no set time that companies need to delete your data. They can hold on to it for as long as they like. The Minister for Cybersecurity and the Attorney General say the laws are extremely outdated. There is currently a review of the Privacy Act and the government says it will be overhauled next year. Guys?
I can't wait for that.
Yes.
A couple of good blueprints from Europe and the UK for us to follow, which are way further ahead.